Hey guys, what's going on? Andy here. Got a bit of spare time, half an hour. I don't know how long this video is going to go on for. I'm just going to sort of roll with the punches. So you probably best, if you want to listen to me waffle on while you're doing your dinner, you're playing FIFA, or you've just got nothing better to do with your life, and you thought you'd let me listen, have a rant, have a rave, and maybe have a discussion down below. So the Super League, what do we all think? I mean, for years now, I've heard rumbling, so it's nothing new. I've heard for years, as far as I can remember, this sort of always being mentioned, and it going on, and the pros and cons of it, and things, and now it's here. Um, it looks like at first some people thought it were a ruse, made to make money, a power, sort of power shift in the league, um, and then it seems it's not. So a day or two ago, it got landed that your top six clubs in England, and then your the rest of the clubs around the world, the big clubs, so your Barca's, your Reals, some of the Italian leagues and whatnot are all joining. 15 places, then five are open and up for grabs through promotions, through other means, to always sit in this sort of Champions League style um, cup and get a lot more money, um, which is a bit baffling to say the least. So, uh, obviously for me, my first impressions are I don't. It could have been done better, or it could have been put together. Now, the reason I think it's come together is, it's been bubbling for years, and there's no way that all these big chiefs have not been talking about it for years, and they've got all the, the lawyers and solicitors and things involved. They've got everything sort of, being bubbling underhand, finding out what the ifs, ands, and buts are, the pros, the cons, what can they be fined? Can they be kicked out of domestic cups? Can they be, players stop being um, playing internationally? Things along those lines. So they'll have all that ironed out. Somewhere under the lines, they'll have a TV deal in place. So I think what's escalated it is obviously with COVID. Obviously, these big clubs have lost a lot of money, like gates. People viewing online, like TV deals. I think that's part of it, but I think the big part is there's been a power shift and it's a bit of a scare. So if you look at the last couple of years, there's been some big clubs in steady decline. Barcelona, Arsenal for definite. Being an Arsenal fan myself, have been in decline for a long time. Man City, even though they look like they've walked the way to the league this year, if you look at the points difference from this year to last year and how they're performing, there's a gap there. Liverpool were obviously champions. They've won the Champions League, they've won the Premier League. Look how they're performing. Man United, how they are second, I have no idea. That shows you how poor the league's been from the big six point of view. Tottenham have not won anything since 90 something. As Arsenal fans, we won an FA Cup here and there. We're challenging still for Europa, but that's anybody's game. But there's been a power shift, and now you're looking at your West Ham's, your Villas, your Everton's, even Leeds United have got a good team going now. Where it's only going to take a key component to change, and they're going to be up there. So you've got this power shift, and these teams are now moving into the Champions League. And the key word for these is they are teams. If you look at Leeds United and what Bielsa's done with them, they are united. It's in the word. They are like, one. If there's any egos or anything, they've gone out the door. They're doing a lot of charity work. They're doing a lot with the fans and engagements and stuff. I used to work at the Leeds United ground quite a bit, and I hated it. I just thought the people, the fans, the players were just, oh god. But now I've got an admiration for them because of what they've done. How they've built. West Ham are looking like a unit. Leicester have done it. They won the league. They're looking like a unit. Anybody who's not part of that unit is gone. And what you're getting with these other clubs is, players who need nurturing, or they need looking after, or they're going to spit the dummy out, or they're partying all night on social media, and they're all individuals. None of them perform when they, you know, by themselves, so to speak. And So with this power shift, like they've lost a lot of money, and the eyes are on these other teams now as well. So I think that's sort of fast tracked it a little bit, where these big clubs are now going, hang on, we need money. The flip side of that coin is, yes, it's greed, but all these clubs have money. Like some of them are in a lot of debt, but it's the club debt. The owners have got billions and billions. They're all billionaires, you know, and they just want more money, and they're taking it out of clubs, and it is money. And I've seen pundits have their look at it, and even Gary Neville, he's been really passionate about it, but. When he built his side, I'm sure money weren't involved at all. So everybody's sort of hypocrite on that side of things. But to me, it's struggling where the money's going to come from, because if it goes ahead, which it looks like it's going ahead, because you've got some big names stepping down from positions and saying, look, we are going for this. And some of them, like with the Glazers and Woodwards and things, like they wouldn't put the name to anything if it weren't beneficial to them. They just wouldn't do it. They're just that way inclined. The Cronkies at Arsenal, I mean, I hate them. I wish somebody would buy them out and get them gone. They've ruined our club. They don't put anything into the club. It's horrible to watch Arsenal from where they've been to where we are now. I mean, we're ninth and we're going into a Super League because we're the Big Six. I mean, it's an embarrassment, to be fair. Especially to other clubs who, it's not nice to admit, but they deserve it. I mean, West Ham are better than us. It's at minute, it's just one of them. There's clubs that are better. I'd give it to Leeds over us. But it's all money. But what started it is it's like players. I mean, I've been saying for years that this were going to happen and football needs to change, because you've got these players now that sit on the bench for ridiculous. I mean, I can remember when Eto'o were on about 350 grand a week and we thought that were a lot. You've got Gareth Bale, is he on about 600 grand a week now? He doesn't even play. You had Ozil at us with Arsenal that were just ridiculous amounts of money a week. You've got David De Gea, I think he's the biggest paid player in the Premier League now, not even seeing game time. The agents have ruined the game, so there's been a lot of money, and I suppose for me it's a bit of be careful what you wish for, because being younger I was into a lot of American sports, so basketball was my main one, but I used to follow a bit of NFL now, not so much these days. I still keep an eye on them, but not so much. And I said, would it be better to get rid of all these wage caps or stupid wages and have it more like the American sports, so where players would say, I don't know, in the Premier League or your top league, you'd get 100 grand a week, and that was it. It was capped. At the Championship level, you get 50 grand a week or 25 grand a week below, and such and so forth. That was it. Didn't matter who you played for, what position you were in. That's who you got paid. Or have two tiers, so you got paid Premier League 100 grand if you were in first team, 70 grand if you were in second team. Reserves, whatnot. Whatever the case may be, but it is capped one way or another. It's either an all team cap, or your first 24 or whatever, your full team, they're all on 100 grand, and anybody else in reserves gets 70 grand. Whatever, that's it, basically. Then you get even less than that, 50 grand a week. I mean, it's still ridiculous money. Then, on top of that, you franchise yourself as a player. So it's down to you then to go and get your sponsors, to get your endorsement deals, to get your advertising deals, likeness rights, things like that. So like American football, you've got Harry Kane promoting cheeseburgers every week at McDonald's. However, he's getting 5 pence for every burger that's sold at McDonald's and whatnot. You've got Pogba in all his Nike gear and his brand new Nikes, but he's getting paid, £1 to every 10 for every pair of football boots that sells, so on and so forth. I mean, obviously these sponsorship deals do exist now, and they get paid by the sponsors, but if they franchise themselves, but more than that, at a club level, if you take all the sponsorships out, the caps on wages, and then you get performance-based only pay. So if you're a striker, you get 10 grand a goal, and if you hit a hat trick, you get an extra 20. Now, these bonuses do exist, but they're on top of ridiculous wages. But if you cap it, then a clean sheet for goalkeepers, tackles and clean sheets for defenders, assists for midfielders, goals for. You then earn the right to be that superstar, and the sky's the limit. If you want to earn £1 million a week, you go and do it, but you're going to get off your arse. So when when you see players like, I mean, like Harry Kane, everybody bangs on about him. I think he's a lazy player. Going about his goal record, it's from penalties, half of it. I've seen it at Arsenal. We've had players that just look lethargic. I mean, Lacazette's only woken up recently. I've never really took to him. But if you told him that there were 20 grand on every goal that he scored, I bet you'd see him run a lot more. Ozil, I don't think he was totally to blame for what happened with us at Arsenal. But again, if you told him that there were 20 grand per assist or 10 grand an assist or whatever, he'd be putting a lot harder work in. Same with defenders, same with goalkeepers. They won't be looking as lethargic as they were, and the sky's the limit. So that was my idea of Americanising it, sort of thing, and letting the players be in control of what they want to earn. So you get your club pay, you get your bonus pay based on your performance, but then you can franchise yourself. And then what that does is it gives more monies back to the clubs to invest in the clubs. And everybody's sort of at a level then. Everybody's fair, and it's not just Man City who can afford to pay a player £7 million a week when Fulham can only pay 70 quid a week. That's a bit extreme, but it's down to players then where they want to perform. Do you want to, if you're passionate, a passionate Fulham fan, and like they always say, I love watching Fulham, but you've never seen Fulham play in your life. Well, if you are, now you're going to go and play for Fulham, and you're going to get your Pogba's, your Mbappe's, or whatever at Fulham because they love that club, and they're on the same wage anywhere else, but they're going to do it for the club, and then they become a team, and then they perform better anywhere else. So that was my sort of idea of Americanizing it, which I think is what they're going to do, because looking at it now, it looks very much structured like sort of the NBA playoffs or the NFL Super Bowl, if you like, that you're going to get this league with 20 or so teams in or whatever, that's going to be split into two. They're going to play, and then they're going to go into a playoffs for the big title. Problem is, I mean, it is going to be, but it is with NFL, it is with NBA, it's just the same teams all the time. Now, there could be a spectacle behind that. However, it's going to come as a detriment, because at the minute you've still got the Champions League, which is what that is. If you're Bertie, it's the Champions League. So if you're the champion, then you get put into this set of leagues or your groups, and then you get to the knockout stages and so on and so forth. So the only way to combat it for me, to see the Premier League, which is, I don't know how to do it, but I think is the 5 cups in every league that you can play for now, something 4 or 5 cups. Is if they open the Champions League and made it everybody's involved. It doesn't matter where you finished, what you did. If you're from the top 2 leagues, or even not, if you got rid of, like, say, the FA Cup or whatever, I mean, it's hard to do, but if you got rid of the FA Cup and the equivalent of every, where everybody's involved in, throughout English football, and then you got rid of the same cup from all the other European nations, get rid of that and then put them all into the European Super. It's the European Super Cup, where everybody does the same. So it's the same format, but people are just seeded, they're drawn, they play each other. And then in the end, you could have Accrington Stanley winning Champions League. You could have, anyone winning it. I mean, you're probably still going to see the same faces. However, everybody gets that chance, and surely that's going to bring more money. With this Super League proposal, I mean, the novelty's there, like it is with the Super Bowl or the playoffs. It's the same teams every year. And I don't think it works. I think the novelty, because you've already got the Champions League and the UEFA leagues, and I know FIFA have wanted this FIFA World Cup going on and bits. It doesn't become novel anymore. It becomes quite boring when, like, I can't remember what it said, like Carragher was it that said you're going to see Arsenal Real Madrid or Liverpool Real Madrid. Klopp, I think, for the next 10 years, there's no risk or reward. Now, the FIFA and UEFA and all these bodies at minute are like threatening clubs, saying that they're going to kick them out of domestic leagues, they're going to kick them out of Champions League, they're going to not allow the players to play for the national teams. I don't think that will happen. To me, these big chiefs and all their lawyers will have covered every angle to make sure that can't happen, because what happens then, you're going to get one or two things happen. Say that does happen and they're kicked out of everywhere. If you're Harry Kane, 27, 28 years old, you've still got a few legs on you. Now, if you are as passionate as you are, as you say, about football, no money on the planet, if you're on 100 grand a week now and they're going to pay you £1 million, that sounds great. But if you are true to your beliefs, then you're going to say, well, hang on a minute, I want to play for England. I want to play all these other cups. I want to win trophies every year. Because, just going off on a tangent a bit, as an Arsenal fan, we ain't winning nothing. We're bottom of this Super League every year. So, that's it. You either win or you lose. So surely, like, I'm on my broadband package now, if I get a letter through tomorrow saying that we're halving your speed and upping your price, even though I'm contracted for 18 months, I can then end my contract because they've changed the terms of it. So surely there's something for these footballers to go, well, hang on a minute. It's not us who've chosen to do this, it's the club. Therefore, I want to be part of this club, so Harry Kane's now going to go to Fulham. And he's got free reign. Like, there's that side of it, and then this Champ Super League becomes a graveyard of football. But the problem with that is we haven't got that golden age of football anymore. There's no Del Piero's, Zolas, Ginolas, Shearers, Henrys, Ronaldinho's, Kakas, all these players that you'd love to see even in the prime. Now we've got Zlatan, Ronaldo, Messi. So that maybe them type of players are not that bothered anymore. They've hit the twilight of their career. They think, well, do you know what? I can stay in my country. I can stay with my club. I'm going to be on £1 million a week rather than 500 grand or whatever, £2 million a week. I've got a bit more player. I've got 2 years left this in me. I don't care anymore. But the purer players will go. So that sort of but then what happens to the sad side of that is like me as an Arsenal fan, my club's in this Super League and I no longer want to support them. Like, because I'm a fan of the Premier League as well. Like, so what happens to my club? Like, what do I do as a fan? Do I just go, I'm going to support West Ham now? I mean, it's not right, is it? And I'm not just going to support Arsenal for the sake of it, for ruining everything that I've grown up to love about football. So there's that side of things that if players are loyal, they could all go and make a stand and say, well, we're just not playing. I mean, money talks at the end of the day, and like I say, then I believe if it does go ahead, it will end up like a graveyard of football. You'll just get older players, novelty players, like all these that have gone to America and Japan and Russia that are just absolutely milking the money. They don't really care for the game. They just want money. They'll go, they'll play. But everybody else wants to play. So, but then all that does is make it how it is now. So if you've got, I keep using Fulham, I don't know why, they're just in my head. Probably do being an Arsenal fan, to be fair. But if the entire Arsenal team goes to Fulham, or the entire Man City team goes to Fulham, or whatever, whoever, then the power shift changes anyway. So nothing has changed. Like, you've got this off old man's league, Super League, but then in your Prem, it's just the same. Like, everybody's just moved to these other teams. So now the power change is the same. You'll just have the top however many clubs, and everybody else is just there for the sake of it. So that's one way it could work. The other way is if they don't kick everybody out. So this is it's the same again, but now all these top six, big six clubs, all these Super League clubs can play in the Super League. They can play all the domestic cups. They can play Champions League. They can play Europa League. They can play World Cups. They can play everything. Now, for years, I've been saying as an Arsenal fan, I want us to spend money, and the rumour is that each club's going to get 350 million a year on top of whatever comes. So is it 120 million for Champions League, 100 million for whatever the payout is. So I think I read it as Arsenal would get, as a cash injection to the club to buy players, would get 500 million, and that's us who are not really challenging for anything. Man City, who are challenging for everything and going to clean up all these cups, would say bring in £1 billion. And it go down. Again, just rough figures. It might be 2 billion that Man City get and Arsenal get £1 billion. Or it might be 10 billion, it might be 4 billion. I don't know, right? But it's going to be a lot more money. So if we're allowed to play then in the Premier League, you're going to have these clubs from each one, and it's going to end up like the Scottish League, or what the not so much the Bundesliga, but it's been close, but La Liga and even Premier League have passed, where you're going to have these top clubs that are involved that have got so much money coming into them that the rest of the teams are irrelevant. It's just going to be these clubs just buying the best of the best, just throwing silly money at people, And like the Scottish League, nobody really cares about anybody else because they're never going to do anything. It's just going to be them top clubs all the time. Like, at a minute, there's a bit of a power shift, but that just goes straight out the window, and it's just back to these clubs that are just buying titles, and just like, so the money becomes ridiculous. The worst case scenario is, so that's another one. The worst case is it becomes a global phenomenon. So whereas you've got all these 100 teams around the world now, this actually kills football off. And all these clubs, and they kick everybody out of Premier League, they kick everybody out of Champions League, they kick everybody out of national teams. You're done. Go and play in your Super League. All right, we will. Now, there are some good up and coming stars around the world. FIFA being a good ground to sort of keep an eye on new players you've never heard of. But people want to see Ronaldo's, Messi's, Aguero's, your Fernandes, Pogba's, your Harry Kane's, your Aubameyangs, Marco Reus's, like all these players like Neymar and Mbappe. Well, I mean, they're not going anywhere. PSG have held out, but however, if money talks, you never know where they'll end up. But everybody wants to see these players. They want to see the top players. Okay, so who would you rather be watching? Would you rather be watching Ronaldo and Messi tearing it up, or some B League you've never heard of, Sunday League? Like, it's the money's in the big players, unfortunately. So all eyes go to, because they'll have an advertising deal somewhere and a TV deal somewhere, even if it's pay per view. So your team, you pay, like, I mean, Neville said, you've got an app on your phone, you pay £1. £1 doesn't sound a lot. Could be £2, could be £3, could be £4, £5. But every game you've got to pay to watch it on your phone or your Xbox or whatever, your laptop. Right? Everybody's got a mobile phone in their hand. So I get all of a sudden these fans that just watch it on a communal TV, everybody's watching it on a phone. Millions of people around the world, that money's going straight to the club. So they've got eyes on, even if they do it internal streaming. So everybody's here watching this, and then the Premier League and everything else, and especially the smaller leagues just cease to exist. There's no room for them anymore. They're not getting funding. Nobody cares about them. They can't afford to keep people. They can't buy players because everybody wants to go and play in this Super League. So eventually it just fades out. So then you just end up sort of like the NFL, the NBA, where there's set teams and that's it. But then the only way to make that work is, because you've got to think about grassroots. I've got a little boy, he's in grassroots. I want him to go on and rule the world. When it comes to football, but this could affect that. The only way that it saves it is if grassroots becomes the future. And then what you have to do, like American football and basketball and whatnot, is you have to then go and get a college degree or scholarship, and you have to go to college, and then they have sort of an offshoot league, like, the NCAA or whatever, where you go, and then at end of every year, so yeah, you've got these 20 teams, but them teams are not set as they are now with contracts. You get a draft. So first thing they do is they go to the colleges, and then they have to draft X amount of players, and then they go to the pool of players after, and then they fill in the gaps with what they want, and then it just moves around a bit more like the NFL. You've got the massive draft, people bringing it in from all different things, and that's how players progress now. So they're not from outside leagues and transfers, it's all coming from internal academies, sort of grassroots, if they want to rename it or whatever. You send your kid at an age, he goes into an academy, and then he goes to college, university, whatever, he gets his scholarship, sports scholarship, and then you get drafted into a team, and then that's it. Then you go onto your platform, you get paid your entry fee, and then the world's the limit where you want to go and where you're going to end up and how many Super Bowl titles you want to win. So that's another outcome. But then all you end up with is 16 or 20 clubs or whatever it is worldwide that everybody's. And then when you watch these films like, I can't remember what it, Battle Angel, Elite or whatever, where you've got these massive stadiums with millions of people in and everybody's like, ah! And then it ends up like that showerish that I watched overnight, that boxing thing with Jake Paul, where you've got rapper Luna T Jandango like shaking a booty on, and then you've got Snoop Dogg and 50 other B-list people, C-list, D-list, Z-list people just going, yeah, smoking weed, man, yeah, cool, man, and then slapping each other at half time and things. I mean, it just becomes again, a bit like the Super Bowl and things like that, where you've got it on and it's like, yeah, everybody welcome here, fireworks going off, and and a bunch of cheerleaders coming out, hey, which I'm sure they tried in Premier League a few years back and it didn't work. It went back to Dave kicking a football at keeper to see if he could win 50 quid because nobody cared about it. It's not the English way or whatever, but that's what it becomes. It just becomes this like massive sort of like death race where everybody's just like churning in, and then you've even got stadiums around the world where you can't go to Spain to watch Arsenal Barcelona, so you have to go to your local stadium, which have got great screens in middle, and then there's like showtime going on and little events and boy bands singing away and stuff like, and it just becomes a gimmick. And you laugh and you say, "Oh, it'll never happen. This will never happen." But there is something happening, and they're going to want money from it, and to give up potential money about being kicked out, it could happen. But we'll see. I mean, we don't know. A lot of it's speculation. So that's my sort of thoughts. I know I've rambled a bit. Um, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm sure we're going to find out more. I mean, there was the Mourinho thing. It says not, but I'm pretty confident that was everything to do with this Super League. I mean, Klopp sort of seems to have turned a corner on it. He was like, no, 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 and now he's like, well, I'm not retiring. He hasn't really said anything bad. You've got your Gary Nevilles and Carragher's that are fuming. A lot of people are. There's other clubs that don't seem to be too much. I think there's a meeting, is it tomorrow, with the remaining Premier League clubs to see what they're doing. But it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I mean, there could be the money's got to come from somewhere for it anyway. And obviously there's going to be investors and stuff, but all these billionaires and the greedy billionaires as well. And like each one is just pure greed. Like Sheikh Mansour, he just come in and he just steamrolled it. He just bought the league. Abramovich, sorry, I thought I heard somebody at my door. Then Chelsea did it. Same bought club, and they're ruthless in the managers. Tottenham think that they're bigger than they are. I don't know why. Like I said, they've not really achieved anything since sort of years and years ago, and 90s were the last time they won anything. Arsenal being the last one, I mean, I don't know what we've got to shout and gloat about. I mean, I'd say we've got billionaire owners, but they're just absolute. Well, I'm not going to say on YouTube, but yeah, I mean, they frustrate the hell out of me and how our club's being run. And then even Man United, I mean, I hate the guys. They're one of our rivals. I think they scum, but on a level, I mean, they are a working men's club. They've sort of built up, but they've got a rotting stadium. I mean, that stadium, yeah, it's one of probably the biggest and well-known stadiums in the world, but it's hanging. I mean, I've worked there a couple of times, and it's hanging. I mean, I worked there probably 10 years ago, and I don't think they've changed anything since I've seen it. Like, it looked rotten then. I mean, obviously, it's still a big stadium, big ground, billions of fans worldwide, but the owners are doing no favours. I mean, that should be for the if you've got who is it? Is it Bolton? You look at Bolton's ground, not even a Premier League team next to Man United's, and it puts people to shame. Derby, Pride Park. I mean, that's like a lovely ground. You've got these other grounds around that are not even in the leagues where clubs like Man United are just neglecting theirs and doing nothing with it. So that shows you what the owners are. So, but I've definitely waffled. I don't even know how long I've been waffling on for. I'm not going to keep you any longer, guys. But maybe I'll come back when we find out a little bit more. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe we'll prove them right. Maybe it'll all go away and we just can carry on with football, or maybe football ends as we know it. But yeah, I've waffled enough. 28 minutes. I doubt anybody's going to watch this anyway. But if you do, thanks for keeping with me. Again, thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what FIFA content you want down below. My little guy, I'll be doing some Fortnite videos over the weekend. But until then, stay safe, enjoy your gaming, and take it easy, guys. We'll see you on the next one.